Hey everyone, welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux, and today we're going to be talking about how to create a very striking black and white image of architecture. I'm going to be walking you through how to use templates, how to improve your contrast, and we'll get it done very fast in Luminar AI and make a beautiful, beautiful image. I just want to take a quick moment and say hello to Big Mac, hello to Robert. Glad you guys are able to join us today. Hello, Russ. Good to see you too. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to switch my screen. Y'all should be seeing my Luminar AI up on the screen. And this is the after image that I created using an image from one of our ambassadors, from Nancy de Campo. And I believe this was taken of a museum in Valencia, Spain. It's a really gorgeous structure. And I really find that with architecture, black and white is a great way to really showcase the lines and curves of something that's very unique when it comes to a structure. So let me show you what I started with here. Here's the before image, and then there's the after. Let me go ahead and pop back over here to my history, and I'm going to go back here to my original, and I'll walk you through exactly what I did. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a template, and I'm going to go look here at the for this photo and see what it has to offer me. And I'm going to go into this landscape category, and there's nothing there I'm really seeing that I like. So I'm going to go down here to this other landscape category where we have a few different collections, and I'm going to choose big city lights. In here we have this one called black and white streets. Let's go ahead and throw that on there, and I think that's a fabulous place to start. It already takes away some of the distraction of color and allows us to emphasize all of those really beautiful lines and angles that we have here. Want to say hello to Kat, hello Sandra, glad you guys are able to join us today. All right, from here, let's go ahead and jump over to the edit module. And I'm going to go up here to essentials, and let's start by refining our composition. I'll go here to composition AI, and we'll go ahead and click the composition AI button and see what the AI technology suggests for us. You know, I think that's a really nice composition. It draws it in. It really brings out the symmetry we have here with the three peaks of the building. The only thing I really want to refine here is it feels like it's tilted a little bit to the left. So I'm just going to reach outside with my cursor outside of the crop box. You'll see that I get the two-headed arrow, and then I can go ahead and just slightly rotate that until I feel like it lines up. And I think right about there looks good. And what I'm looking at here is, if you notice here, we have these three peaks, and I'm making sure they're right along that same line. So as we start to move outside the image and tilt this, we can see if those are roughly the same distance from one of those crop marks. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right about there. And then I might move this over slightly just so that middle peak is right here. I'm a big fan of symmetry. I like it when things line up just right, and that feels good to me. So I'll go ahead and hit return on my keyboard. And now we can play a little bit with our contrast and our tones. So let's go first to our Enhance AI, and let's just pull up this Accent AI quite a bit more, and I like how it's darkening up the sky. It's really making things a lot more contrasty. I think it looks really, really beautiful. Next, we can work with our contrast directly. Let's go into the light tool and modify the smart contrast here just a little bit. And you can see as we move it to the right, we're starting to open up a lot of those highlights and kind of lose some detail here on the white areas of the building. I don't want to go too far that way. In this case, I'm actually going to pull it back to the left, and you can see more of this detail coming out here on the structure. We can take that a little bit further and go into our structure AI and just bring out a little bit more of those details that are there on the building. I think that looks really cool. Now, what we've done here so far, I think looks great, but it's because we've really done some stuff to work with that contrast. To me, it actually feels a little flat now. We've got great detail in our highlights. We still have a good amount of detail in our shadows. So we can refine this a little bit further by going into the Pro Tools and into Super Contrast. And this tool is really cool, and I love working with it specifically in black and whites because you can work with your highlights, midtones, and shadows independently. So let's go ahead and pull up that highlights contrast just a little bit, and then we can maneuver this balance to see where we want that balance to be. And I'm going to go ahead and move that a little bit to the right. And take a look at what we've done there so far. So there's the before and the after. It's a very subtle change. We can play them with our midtones. I'm going to bring this up quite a bit higher here, and then we can work with those midtones balance. And you can see that's opening up some of the shadows on the interior, but it's also lightening up some of these darker areas. We can then go ahead and correct that with our shadows contrast. I'm going to pull that up again pretty high. And then I'm going to move this around to really make those darker areas darker and more contrasty. And that makes all those really gorgeous shapes of this building stand out and accentuates what we probably saw if you were the one to capture this image. So you see a building like this, and sometimes color can just take away from, those really cool shapes. Black and white brings all those shapes to life and really makes it almost a little bit abstract, and is a great way to photograph and process architecture and structures. So let's go ahead and take a look at our overall before and our after. I really love how this shot turned out. So I want to take a look here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't get to your question by the end of the show, I can always come back and check the comments that you leave on the video later on, and I'm happy to answer those. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we take one more look here at the comments. It looks like everybody understands what we're doing here pretty well today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I hope you guys have a great afternoon. I hope you enjoyed seeing a little bit more of what Luminar AI can do for your photos. Vanelli and I will be back with you tomorrow. We're going to kind of go over a recap of what we've talked about this week. Got a lot of fun things to share with you, and we're going to be here to answer your questions. Let's see, one more quick question here just popped into the chat. Let's see, Robert wants to know about the histogram. So let's go ahead. We can do that by view and show histogram. And it's this little tiny thing up here in the corner. And what you can do from that, you can see here our tones are pretty well spread out. We've got some definite brighter areas, some definite darker areas, which, because this is a black and white, that middle is going to be a little bit more reduced. If you want to see where you have clipping, you can hit the J key on the keyboard. And you can see that we are clipping some in our highlights and our shadows. If that's really important to you, you can certainly go into your Essentials tool and into Light. You can start manipulating these highlights and shadow sliders, or even down here in the blacks and whites, and bring those out. But I would caution you against getting to the point where you're looking at that histogram and getting really honed in on what's clipping. And the reason for that is when you start balancing out all those tones, you get everything clumped up to the midtones. You end up with a really flat, non-dynamic image. It lacks contrast, it lacks image. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of those bright whites and a little bit of those dark blacks to make a black and white that's really, really eye-catching. So something to watch for. Certainly it all comes down to personal taste, but I hope that's helpful for you, Robert. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a great afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Bye-bye.